What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Rob's Gaming Table. Today on the table, we're playing another KeyForge tournament video at 401 Games in downtown Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Thanks to everyone for their support over at Patreon. You can find the link in the description below. I am playing on the right. Paul is playing on the left. I'm using Nordvisor Smuggler of the Pub, a deck that I did an analysis video for. You can find the link for that in the description below. And it looks like my opponent is going first. Starts off with an Ancient Bear. He has Shadows, Untamed, and Sanctum. I have Shadows, Brobnar, and Untamed. Head of the Huge is coming in, slapping the bear for 2 damage. And we have a Headhunter on the right flank, and that's going to be it. Passing over to my opponent. So this is round number 3. I did post a couple other videos from this tournament and a tournament before that where I'm using the same deck. That's why I did the deck analysis video, so you can get a good feel for the deck and see how it performs here. I'm 2-0 at this point. I'm assuming my opponent is also. We had 17 players at this tournament. And make sure you guys subscribe and stay tuned. We have round number 4 coming up after this. And if you'd like to see more KeyForge on the channel, make sure you hit that like button on these KeyForge videos. Helps other people find them on YouTube and helps the channel grow. Thank you, everyone who does so. All right, we got Glorm of Ohm, if that's how you say it, the artifact destruction artifact in Sanctum. And then we have Sergeant Ezekiel coming in, and he's letting the Ancient Bear ready and fight. And he destroys Hebe. And it looks like that's going to be it for my opponent. Passes it over to me. Still no amber generated yet. And I'm going to go Shadows, slap down Evasion Sigil. I gain an amber for that. That basically forces the attacker of a fight, or whoever initiates a fight, needs to discard the top card of their deck. If that card matches the active house that they name that turn, the attacking creature exhausts with no effect. I point at my opponent's artifact removal there, letting him know, don't worry, it won't stay around for long if you're confused by it. It is a card that does mess around with people, even, as you guys have seen in previous videos, messes with me too. I forget it sometimes, and forget to remind my opponent sometimes. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's got quite the wall of text on it. Alright, so my opponent's going Shadows. He names Ghostly Hand. He steals my only amber. Gets a perfect Ghostly Hand off. Gets 3 amber off that card, basically. It looks like I threw out a Shadow Self in the middle there and an Urchin on the flank. And that Urchin didn't steal anything because my opponent didn't have any amber at the time. But he's another body on the board that may be around next turn that I named Shadows, who could help me with some reaping. And it looks like that's all my opponent did was just play Ghostly Hand, and that's it for his turn. I mean, he got 3 amber there in one shot, but he only got 1 card out of hand. Not sure if that was the right play, but hey, he's up 3-1 or 3-0 in amber right now. So what do I know? All right, so a Dew Fairy on the left flank, Flaxia coming in on the right, getting 2 amber since I control more creatures. And Lupo's coming into play, deal 2 damage to Sergeant Ezekiel, but he'll only take 1 because he does have 1 armor. And looks like I have 2 amber now. Giant board of dudes. So right now it looks like Evasion Sigil will probably be hurting me more than my opponent. Since I have the larger board, I may want to fight to keep my opponent's board down. He might want to fight some of my board, but I got Shadow Self there helping me out. Evasion Sigil helped me out. I don't know if he has any board wipes, but he does have some board control. Some soft control there and 2 Nocturnal Maneuvers, so he exhausts my entire board. 3 creatures each. And gets 2 amber for that, going up to 5 amber. And that's going to be it for my opponent. And he draws a couple cards. Still looking for our first key to be forged here. Looks like I'm naming Untamed. We've got a big twig there on the far right flank, and looks like a Witch of the Eye just off the screen there at the top. And drop down a regrowth for an Amber. Going to get a creature out of my discard pile. Not sure who it was there. Might have been Hebe the Huge, actually. I think that might be the only choice I had. And I got quite the board of Untamed creatures there. I apologize for the glare. We were in the basement here at 401 Games. Couldn't really pick where we're filming. Just kind of took the camera with me wherever I sat, so I apologize. So we got Witch of the Eye coming into play. A Vigor played. Takes an Amber for that. Heals up Sergeant Ezekiel. And now he's at 6 Amber. So my opponent is in check. So I don't see anything on the board Amber control-wise. Hopefully I have something in hand. I could just keep pushing and trying to race here. I could name Untamed. Control my opponent's board a little bit with Big Twig. Get some Amber off the Dew Fairy. And it looks like I'm going Untamed. We got a Dust Pixie dropping into play for 2 Amber. So Flaxia is coming after Sergeant Ezekiel for 4. Discarding the top card. It's a special delivery, which is not of the active house, so the fight does go through. He'll just take 3 damage because of the armor. And all I wanted to do there, looks like, was get a regrowth set up. So I get Flaxia back in hand off a regrowth, get an Amber off that, throw Flaxia into play, get 2 Amber since I think I control more creatures here. Let me just count. I am totally joking. And looks like debating a Lupo fight or reap. I got Witch of the Eye, so I can maybe cycle regrowth here. Or maybe next turn, hopefully. So the Dew Fairy is going to reap there, get me 2 Amber. Remember, I have that evasion sigil, so there's a risk here. Fights could just burn out. But I am going to try to fight Lupo into Sergeant Ezekiel. And see, I almost forgot it there again. I just did it and almost forgot. So we get a Troll coming off the top who's not of the active house. So the fight does go through. Kills Sergeant Ezekiel. Skirmish. Protects Lupo from taking any damage. And then a regrowth coming back to hand off the Witch of the Eye reap there, using her ability. And Big Twig. I'm going way too high in Amber here. My opponent has Shadows on his house card. Not sure what I'm doing, but I'm getting risky here. So I'm going to reap and then exhaust and stun the Witch of the Eye off a Big Twig's reap effect. So I just kind of smacked the Witch there and put her to sleep for a bit. So my opponent does forge a key. So obviously I took the plan there of just racing last turn and just going nuts. But I mean, looking at it now, my opponent has no Amber after forging a key, and I'm sitting on a pile of 12 Amber. And my opponent could just drop down a bait and switch. But it would still leave me on check, but it would put him in check also, hoping he doesn't have any additional steel in his hand. And that was a huge risk. This was an Archon tournament. I'm assuming I looked at my opponent's faction card, or identity card, or Archon card, or whatever the heck they're called, and looked at his deck list before the match, as you are allowed 2 minutes in an Archon match to review your opponent's deck list. I just can't remember if he had bait and switch at this point or not. Maybe I saw that he didn't. Definitely hope I wouldn't do that if he had too much to protect. So he's dropping another Nocturnal Maneuver. So I guess he has at least 3 in his deck. And he's exhausting the Witch of the Eye, Big Twig, and the Dew Fairy to prevent me from doing that same type of turn again. Throws down a Witch of the Eye, Flaxia, who's not going to get him any additional Amber since he doesn't have more creatures. And then he'll ready up his board and end there with 1 Amber. And I excitedly forge a key there. I dodged a bullet by not getting hit by some huge Amber control there. And now I'm in check. Forge my first key. In check for a second key. So the racing bet last turn paid off there. So if I did go Untamed here, I have 3 creatures on the board that are still readied that I could use. I know I have a regrowth in hand, I think, that I got back last turn that I haven't used yet. Could be wrong. Sounds like I'm going Untamed. And attempting a fight with Lupo here on Witch of the Eye. It is of the active house, who is my Nocturnal Maneuvers, so Lupo goes down with no effect. Flaxia coming in on the Witch of the Eye, that's unstunned. And that goes through. So Flaxia will take 3 damage. And the Dust Pixie is going to attempt to fight. I guess I'm just trying to kill it to regrowth it. And it's going to try to fight on the Witch of the Eye, and it's a key charge. Oh, that sucks. Discarded off the top of the deck, so Dust Pixie exhausts with no effect there on the fight. I think at this point I've seen enough Untamed cards that wouldn't happen too often, but I got hit twice there in that turn. And I'm going to play the Regrowth. And I'm going to take back Umbra to hand, who probably was discarded earlier off an Evasion Sigil. And I'm at 7 Amber. Board is all ready to up. My opponent's looking at a Poison Wave in his hand. He also has a Relentless Whispers there. Has another Shadows card behind that. So looks like he's debating a Shadows turn here. He's got a Dodger in hand. So he's going to go Shadows, do Poison Wave. He'll gain an Amber off that, deal 2 damage to each creature in play. Right after I use my damn Regrowth, too. puts the Dust Pixie and Dew Fairy right back into my discard pile. Shadow Self will absorb 6 damage there, 2 from himself and then 2 from each of his neighbors. And that will kill Flaxia. Send her to the discard pile. Another great regrowth target. And we got Relentless Whispers on the Witch of the Eye. So he'll gain an Amber for playing that action card and then steal 1. Putting me down to 6, but still in check. And we got Dodger in play on the left flank there. And over to me, I do Forge. Key number 2. My opponent's still at 1 key. And sounds like I'm naming shadows here. And I'm going to Reap with Urchin, Reap with Shadow Self, so that's 2 Amber. And I'm going to throw down Old Bruno, that'll capture 3 Amber from my opponent. And Naughty the Thief and an Umbra. So loading up the board with Shadows creatures now. So Old Bruno holding 3 Amber there, has Elusive. Add that with Evasion Sigil. Makes a nice little defensive combo there. Same with Naughty the Thief, he's Elusive. Evasion Sigil. Be even better if I had Shadow Self beside them, but, you know, can't have it all sometimes, you know. So it sounds like my opponent's going Shadows. A little unsure about that. He needs to get to that 2nd key. And he does decide to pop the Omni, Glorm of Olm there to destroy Evasion Sigil before fighting in with a Dodger here. Doesn't want to risk the gamble there. He's not sure who to target. He doesn't like a lot of them, he says, but he's got to pick someone to go after. And I can tell he's a little frustrated with the elusive there. So he does go after Shadow Self, just get him off the board. And he does steal one off that. And then we got a Nerve Blast coming in. He steals another one. And he's going to be able to do 2 damage to a creature. I know he wants old Bruno off the board. It's not going to be enough to kill him. But he's going to go after Umbra. I would have actually gone after Naughty the Thief there. But I mean, he does need to protect his board from skirmish fighting. So that makes sense, I guess. And that's going to be it for his turn. So he's got me down to 0 amber. Trying to achieve that 3rd key. I can go Shadows with what I have on the board. Get a couple Reaps and a Steal. But it sounds like I'm going Brobnar. Probably loaded with Brobnar cards in hand at this point. I'm going to use Blood Money to put 2 amber from the common pool onto Flaxia. Not 2 damage. My opponent thinks it's 2 damage, but it's actually 2 amber. Putting a hit out on her head. And we got a fight off Headhunter. No evasion sigil, so don't need to discard the top card of my deck. And I'm going to gain 1 off the fight ability. He does take 4 damage back from Flaxia. And I get the 2 amber that Blood Money put on Flaxia there. So 3 amber out of that fight, not bad. And we got Crump coming into play. Looks like a troll on the right flank under the glare there. And it sounds like 2 Heavy the Huges going to the discard pile there. Don't want to put them into play since it basically wipes a few little Shadows dudes off my board. And only would put 2 damage on Dodger across the board. So not really smart play. Don't want to put 2 damage on old Bruno also, seeing my opponent has things like Relentless Whispers and Nerve Blasts in his deck. My opponent's looking through my discard pile. I smell a Mimicry. My opponent's just deciding what to do here. While he's doing that. If you have any questions or comments or constructive criticism, anything like that, feel free to leave it in the comments below. If you notice any rules, goof-ups, or anything, leave them in the comments below. It helps other players down the road, new players especially, who find these videos and watch them to see how tournament play goes and maybe see the overall flow of the game. So my opponent's just asking if the fight on an elusive off Dodger would still steal 1. It does, because the fight would still happen. Just no damage is dealt on either side off elusive. So he's going to go Shadows. And he's going to fight old Bruno once, which does steal 1. And we got Umbra into play on the left flank, and that's going to be it. Over to myself. Now he's got 2 fighters on the board for Shadows, so he could fight first with Umbra into old Bruno and then kill old Bruno with Dodger. Get the 3 amber back and steal 2 on that play if he goes that route. So I named Brobnar. Got to deal with his board too. So I throw down a Mighty Javelin, gain an amber. That is an Omni, deals 4 damage to a creature. And looks like a Blood of the Titans. Or I think that's what it's called. The upgrade that gives +5 power to a creature. I get an amber for playing that. And that makes the Headhunter even bigger, so we can throw in another fight and maybe get his fight effect there, gaining an amber. So Crump's going to fight Dodger. Kills Dodger, takes 5 damage, makes my opponent lose an Amber off of Crump's fight effect. Since he didn't die during the fight, he gets to trigger that. And we got a fight on Umbra. Just take 2 damage on Headhunter. Kills Umbra. And I get an Amber off the fight effect off Headhunter there. And Troll's going to reap, getting me a 6th Amber, putting me in check. And that's going to be it for my turn. Forcing my opponent to answer. Hopefully didn't draw any other Shadow Steel cards. See, he's got a Hunting Witch in hand. Looks like a Virtuous Works in there. And a bunch of Sanctum cards. Maybe some Capture. He's looking through his discard pile. I don't know if he has a way. He's looking at all his Stealing Shadows cards. I don't know if he has a way of getting a card back into play. I guess off the Witch of the Eye, if somehow he got the stun off, then could ready it up. But maybe he has a couple Inspirations in hand. And now he's looking again at my discard pile. Maybe he has that Mimicry that I was thinking might be there before. He's probably looking for a way out of this. He's just got to steal 1 Amber. Or lose an Amber, or capture an Amber. And it sounds like he doesn't have a way to do it. Yeah, he does have a Mimicry in hand. Alright, so another win in the bank there. And we'll have round 4 coming up after this. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. So you can follow along. We got more videos coming up. And yeah, more KeyForge. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you in the next one.